This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, this is Dr. Shell Watts of MBAadmit.com. I'm happy to be back here today with the GMAT Club for our 5-minute webinar about how to articulate career goals. You'll find in the MBA admissions process that many of the top business school applications include a question like, tell us about your short-term and long-term goals. By short-term, they typically mean immediately after the MBA. And for long term, they typically mean 10 or 20 years out, depending on the industry. Short-term goals, one thing to bear in mind is that the short-term goals are often used as a weeder, meaning that the schools are using that to eliminate candidates. They will cut your application if what you indicate as a short-term goal does not seem sensible and reasonable for you and your background. They do that because they don't want to have a job placement problem. That will be bad for their statistics and then also for their ranking. So what is one common mistake that you want to avoid when identifying your short-term goal in the application? Well, you don't want to indicate that you're expecting to land a job solely on the basis of the MBA training. If you try to argue that you will get a job simply because of the new MBA learning that you have and not because of your prior background, most schools feel that that's risky and will find that whatever you stated as a short-term goal may not be in their view sensible. So an example is the engineer who says that she wants to become an investment banker and asserts that the MBA training alone will make her prepared for that role. Now, most of the schools will say that is risky because they are not sure that an investment bank would hire just someone with an engineering background and no finance background. It is the reality that that candidate might be able to go to business school, study the right courses, and then persuade a top employer to hire her into banking. But again, that's risky from the point of view of the school. And at this stage of the game, your goal is to get into the school. So it's usually better to be a bit more conservative about what you're stating is your short-term goal. So what are some best practices? Well, you want to make sure that the short-term goal that you identify advances you from where you are today in the job that you have. You also want to make sure that potential employers and the business school will consider you qualified for the position based both on your prior experience and your MBA training. You want to see or make sure that the business school has some record of placements in your target area. And you want to also make sure that the short-term goal sounds like a reasonable step toward the long-term goal. Some examples of short-term goals. Here are 3. Feel free to come back to this slide and read them through. I'll just go through one right now. So here's the first. After my MBA, I seek to leverage my prior experience as an engineer in the manufacturing sector, along with my MBA training, to transition to the business side of a leading manufacturing company as product manager. That to a business school will sound very sensible because the person is stating that they will draw on the prior experience in combination with MBA training to advance to a position which sounds very sensible in terms of a transition. So long-term goal, what are some best practices? Well, you want to make it sure it's clear how you're going to get from point G to point S. Point G is where you are today. Point S is long-term goal. You want to make sure also that your goal is big enough. You don't want to aim too small. And you also want to make sure to give your long-term goal some good definition so that you stand out. Point G to point S. Now, point G is where you are today. Point S is the long-term goal. So the whole question is, well, what are points K and M? What are the points in between? You need to be able to connect the dots for the admissions committee. That is where your explanations of why business school and your short-term goal come in. Make sure that your long-term goal is big enough. Don't aim too small. Some examples of too small might be these 2. So if someone is saying that they want to establish a company that focuses on helping small businesses in southern India, or someone is saying that they want to start a business that will help strengthen local schools in one city, Memphis, in the United States, those may be seen as too small for, in terms of a reason to need a degree from a top business school. Some business schools will look and say, look, you can get a local degree and achieve those goals perfectly fine. So you want to make sure that the goal that you're stating is large enough that you will need a degree from a top business school, one of the most recognized schools in the world, in order to achieve your goals. You might want to also add some definition to your long-term goal, ways to define it, and there are many, and this is just some, but here are some ways: industry, part of an industry, geography, client base. If you add those specifics as you write up your long-term goal, it helps to define the goal, helps to allow the committee to envision the goal, and is better usually for your application. You can add some purpose. What is the purpose of the goal? So here are some examples: helping to drive transformation in the energy sector, helping to expand the reach of healthcare, helping to produce some affordable consumer goods. Those are purposes that might be attached to the long-term goal. Again, helps to give definition, helps the committee to see why it would be important. So let's look at some real examples from successful Harvard and Stanford admits. I will read through two of these. Feel free to come back to this slide and read them through more slowly. So here's the first. I intend to become the CEO of a leading energy company such as Shell, a position through which I can help bring further change to an industry in the midst of transformation. And here's another one. I intend to turn my business into a multinational firm that uses technologies to strengthen healthcare in underserved parts of Asia and Africa. Well, we hope that helps you in terms of understanding how to put together your goals statements to the schools. Feel free to reach out and contact us. A bit more about our company. We've been around for over 30 years giving advising. We've worked with all the top MBA programs in the United States and abroad. And clients are often able to work directly with me, Dr. Shell. I have a background from Harvard and Oxford and business experience that allows me to leverage a lot of expertise to help my clients. We've been successful at all the top programs. You're more than welcome to come to our website and get a free profile evaluation. And this is how you contact us. Thank you so much for being with us. It's been a pleasure, and good luck in your MBA applications.